How have you been for the past 6 minutes? Since we ended the last episode.
It's been good, but knowing that I'm going to talk about Iron Fist, it's getting worse and worse.
So you liked it then?
Oh. Yeah, everybody, welcome to the Media Lunch Break, bringing you all of your comic, geek, and movie news all in the time it takes to eat a good sandwich and polish down a nice 12-ounce Pepsi. My name is Chris Treba. Alongside me, as always, is my co-host Andrew Dunn. Say hello, Andrew.
Iron Fist!
All right, kiddies. So a show came out. It is named Iron Fist, and it apparently is about the Marvel Cinematic Universe's dumbest superhero ever. Because, man, this guy's an idiot.
Certainly the most boring.
Yeah. It's no secret a lot of the reviews have come out, and so why don't we just all pile on this? Iron Fist is not that great. Wouldn't you agree?
Look, it's the worst thing that Marvel has done so far.
Yeah.
Including Iron Man 2.
Right.
Including Thor.
Yeah.
Including Thor 2. Including the first Hulk movie.
You want to keep going?
Including, anything Ike Perlmutter has done.
Including Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. I mean...
You know what?
Yep.
No, I'm going to give it a pass. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are worse.
No.
Really?
Yes.
I think some people are a little harsher on it than it needs to be. My big thing...
You're talking about me?
Yeah. I'm talking squarely about you. Here's my quick thoughts.
And where are your quick thoughts?
I'll say... Which aren't going to be quick at all, let's be honest. Let me also start off by saying this. I'm only up to episode 8.
I'll be honest, it only gets better.
Well, the other thing is, I think that's actually a point of mine, is I'm only on episode 8 because I did not feel driven to get through this as quickly as possible.
It's really hard to watch.
It is. It's not that it's bad, it's just boring. And I think that for me, what happened was, Marvel has been really good about each one of their properties, each one of their characters, each one of their projects. They put a specific spin on it. They say, we're going to do superhero movies or TV, but we're going to do it in a certain kind of genre. And I've said this before, like Captain America First Avenger is their version of a period piece. Guardians of the Galaxy is their version of a space opera or a comedy, depending on how you want to do it. It's obviously both. Ant-Man is a heist movie. Daredevil is their gritty version. Jessica Jones is their mystery noir. Luke Cage is their blaxploitation.
Yeah.
Iron Fist is nothing.
It should have been a The Raid style kung fu movie.
You know what? Actually, as I was watching this, more than something like The Raid, I think, because I feel like it dips just lightly into this and wants to do it and then doesn't, based on some of the music choices that they do and just the character and the world that it's living in. They could have done something almost like a Stranger Things, where it's like this really great 80s kung fu movie type of thing. Where
there weren't a lot of 80s kung fu movies.
No, but it's the idea of, like, in the 80s there were movies like something like comparable to like Big Trouble in Little China, where it's like this fantastic.
Sure.
There's no way this could be real.
Yeah.
But we're gonna play it totally straight like it's real.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And just go off the deep end of that. There's a parody movie that you can catch on Netflix. It was big on YouTube for a while. I think it's called Kung Fu. It's like this. I gotta look it up.
I think it's called Kung Fu. Kung Fu Hustle?
It's not Kung Fu Hustle. It's like a short film. It's like 40 minutes or something. But it's this. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It looks like it's shot on a VHS.
Rage something.
Yeah.
Kung Fury.
Yeah, but it could have been something like that, and I'm not saying make it comedic in that aspect, but that type of idea of, like, you know, go extreme with this. This is a story about a guy who comes back from a mystical city and is fighting and is a superhero who can punch through anything and is destined to fight this other mystical thing, but he's in a business, you know what I mean? It's all these weird elements that fit together. And the 80s were great at doing that. And again, I'm not saying like go full 80s tilt on it, but if you're going to put a spin on something, if you're going to put a stamp on it, if you're going to put it in some kind of a genre, I was like, that could have been really fun.
That's true.
And then you have these 4 parts for the Defenders of like grittiness, noir, blaxploitation, 80s kung fu that are all vastly different. But instead, which it feels like is just a very kind of lukewarm Daredevil knockoff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought as well. So here are some quick short list problems.
Yes.
Why does he know how to drive a car?
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair.
2, how did he charge his iPod in a city that likely has no electricity?
Yeah, I did bump on that too. I was like, iPods don't have that good of a battery.
I mean, yeah, not 15 years.
Yeah.
Here's some more. And these are a little harder, and they're less plot holes and more just poor choices, I think.
Sure.
But why did he leave Kunlun? Because in the comics,
we
know that he knows what Harold Meacham has done.
Right.
So that's why he leaves, to seek revenge.
Right.
But he doesn't really have a reason.
So they don't ever really... again, I'm only 8 episodes in. They don't ever...
No, it's sort of implied that... I mean, they show a lot of scenes of him like being beaten in his training.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe he just gets sick of it. But that's kind of a poor choice.
Yeah, that's a bullshit choice.
Okay. How did he leave? Which I think would be very interesting to see because it's every 10 years, right, that it opens. Right. They say he's been there for 15 years.
Yeah.
So halfway through.
I was trying to do math on that, and I was like, wait, it's every 10 years. He's been gone 15.
Which,
I mean, I guess theoretically, because they talk very vaguely about, at one point he said to Connie about how he used to fight. No. Something like he used to fight for money. He mentioned something. He mentioned something that he used to do after he left Kunlun before he got to America again.
Man, I was probably sleeping.
Yeah, but it implied like, okay, so he didn't just like leave from Kunlun and then hop a jetliner straight to America.
5 years. So he was there for 10 years.
Yeah, so did he pal around for 5 years trying to make his way to America?
I mean,
which he could have picked up certain things. I get that. But they don't, you're right, they don't like really...
Well, and we know, and we'll get into this in the reading assignment, that there are ways to break out of Kunlun.
Yes.
In the comics.
Yes.
Which would be very interesting to see.
Right.
So, last quick one. Do you feel like we got iron-fisted with this show?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Yeah, there was one other quick one that bumped for me. Hold on. iPod.
Oh, here's one I didn't write down. Is it weird that he left America in 2002 and doesn't understand the internet?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll defend this one slightly, only that the internet was very in its kind of nascent form.
We had XP.
And then
Did you know how to use the internet when we had XP?
Right, but then he also spent 10 years away from all technology, except for his iPod.
To be fair, though, it's your formative years, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I'm saying maybe it, like... Not that it was beaten out of it. I'm just saying, like, he had to prioritize between...
Not necessarily a plot hole.
Yeah, but I get what you're... I'll grant you that. My biggest thing that I bumped on, and it's a quick one, but at the same time, like, if you fix this one thing, it changes the trajectory of the whole plot in a better direction. And I really meant it at the top of the show. This guy's like the dumbest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, he's pretty dumb. Well, he also has, like, rage problems.
Well, he constantly is like... The one scene I remember in particular is when he's talking to... he's trying to get everyone to believe in the first 3 episodes he's Danny Rand. And all he says is, I'm Danny Rand. And they're like, no, you're not. And he's like, yes, I am. And they're like, no, you're not. And he never... And never...
There's one time he does try something at one point, but I think Ward says, well, anyone could look that up online.
Right.
Like, we went to school together or something like
also
that. But it's not enough.
But doing that took like 2 episodes for him to think of that idea. Yeah. And then Ward is like, well, anyone could look that up on the internet. Yeah. And then he doesn't... At no point does he ever go, okay, and then walks out of the room and is like, I gotta think up a different plan.
Yeah.
Like, instead of just walking around, because then they send him to a nut house because he keeps screaming about this.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm Danny Rand, and they keep saying, no, you're not. And finally, and here's the other thing. When he got in the nut house, they were like, you know, you can just get out if you stop saying that you're Danny Rand.
Yeah.
Instead of going, okay.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Just say okay and leave the nut house, and then you can scream about it.
It's interesting though, because no, I mean, you know, I think it's fair though to say that, like, no, like, convince them you're Danny Rand.
Right.
You know, your plane crashed. You muddled around China trying to get back home. You got a fake passport, so you can finally make it home. It took you 15 years.
Right.
That's a believable story and an interesting one, and it's something you can test. Like, you can do a DNA test.
Right.
You know, I mean, I can't imagine.
They talked about they can't do a DNA test because he has no living relatives to compare it to.
Sure, but his parents never had their fingerprints.
I kind of felt that. I bumped on that as well, where it was like, I mean, they had the fingerprint thing with the dish.
Right.
And I was like, wait, couldn't we, that's the only fingerprint he's like a billionaire's son.
Right. Yes.
They don't fingerprint him ever?
Correct.
Ever.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
In 2002?
There was never any blood work done.
Right.
They never went to the doctor.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of questions about that sort of thing. But then the next thing I was going to say is that, like, then he finally does that. He convinces them that he's Danny Rand.
Right.
And then they say, where have you been?
Yes.
And he's like, oh, I killed a dragon with my bare hands.
And that's what I was going to say. It's like, first of all, he starts screaming he's Danny Rand, and everyone says, no, you're not. And instead of going, okay, no, I'm not, and then they leave him alone, and he's like, now I can go and formulate a different plan.
Yeah. He
keeps screaming. So they put him in a nut house, and then he's like, they're like, if you just stop saying you're Danny Rand, you can get out of the nut house. And instead of going, oh great, if I get out of the nut house, I can go back to figuring out how to prove to everyone else I'm Danny Rand. He's like, no, I'm Danny Rand. And they just keep drugging him. And then when he finally gets the doctor to agree that he's Danny Rand, at no point does he go, you know what, now that I think about it, my shit sounds pretty damn crazy to other people.
10-year-old me would not have believed this.
I totally get why people think I'm nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how you don't think that you're insane, and maybe you gotta pace it a little bit.
Yeah. That actually would have been more interesting for him to struggle with, maybe I am crazy.
That would have been really interesting too, because he struggles with, like, centering his chi, and you see him go in and out of vision.
He has anger issues and PTSD and stuff like that. What also would have been really interesting is, well, you bring up that. Well, okay, so here's an interesting point as well. So you said, you know, maybe he should say I'm not Danny Rand, but I actually don't think that would work, because if you tell a crazy person you're not this person, you're a Y person, and then the next day he's like, oh no, I believe you now. You're like, no, you don't.
Right, but you could formulate just basically what I'm saying is, like, he kept saying the same thing over and over again.
It would be more interesting to see him try different things.
Yeah, he just did the same thing over and over to like 3 different people and got the same result, and never for a second blinked an eye and went, you know what, I do sound crazy when I say it. Yeah. So maybe I should, like, figure out a different way to do this.
He seems to have zero filter.
He seems to have zero perception of how other people.
Well, that's what I mean, though, is that, like, he never thinks about the things before he says them.
Right.
Like, he doesn't seem to care. He's just like, it's the truth.
Right. And I guess that's supposed to be part of, from the fact that he's from Kunlun.
But he's not. He's from New York.
Or he lived that he was.
Yeah, but that's, you know what I mean?
He spent his formative years.
I get what they're going for, but it doesn't make any sense.
Also, and this is a writing thing, some of his dialogue is really kind of bullshit.
Yes,
like,
a lot of his dialogue.
The way they structure his dialogue, the way he speaks.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not. Stop talking like that.
Yeah.
Like, knock it off. It's really dumb.
Yeah. Especially for someone who's been listening to hip-hop for the past 15 years.
Yeah, I hate to boil it down to that simplistic of a thing, because I really try and, like, analyze these things critically with some sort of intelligence. But, like, his dialogue just sucks. Like, there's no way to put that better. Is that his dialogue just it's very dry, and it's very two-dimensional.
All right, so we're getting a little bit into the very first thing I wanted to talk about, which is the problems. What are the problems with this? And we've talked a lot about the dialogue, the story. There's a ton of plot holes. There's a lot of inconsistency as well with various characters and their choices.
Give me some examples.
Okay, how about... you've gotten to the I forget the name of the character, but it's like the lady of the 9 dragons, I think is her comic book name, but the woman who poisons him. No.
Oh, no.
There's like a tournament he has to do.
Oh yeah. The no, I want to say Black Spider, but that's not right.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I almost said Black Widow, but that's definitely not right.
No, it's definitely.
But
not.
she has a spider tattooed on her back.
It doesn't involve her.
I know
at
what
all.
you're talking.
I was just saying that
that scene.
Yeah. So at the end, doesn't he try to attack Gao and she uses some sort of like superpower knockback thing?
Yes.
Like she just puts her hand
before,
up.
Too.
Has she?
She's used some. Well, she uses it in a previous episode.
I don't remember that.
And she kind of does it in. She doesn't do quite that, but she does something in Daredevil. In the first season of Daredevil, she does something like that.
Here's the thing.
Where she moves faster than an old woman should be able to.
That's fine. See, that I'm okay with, but like, she all of a sudden had like the Force or something. Like,
right.
She just puts her hand up and he goes flying back.
Right.
The way to do that is to have Danny like throw a punch and have her grab his pinky and just bend it a certain way, and he can do a flip and like fall over. That way it looks like she's using very little energy and very little force in order to subdue her opponent, which is the way someone like that would do that. But to give this ridiculous like what do you call that, like super
psychic push?
Yeah, like a psychic push. It seems like a strange choice, and she never uses. She becomes. I imagine she's been in it a lot because I'm sort of unfamiliar with where exactly you're at, but she becomes a very, very important character, and there are a lot of times.
I just got to he discovered the 13th floor.
Oh, all right. Well, there's a lot of times where using that might be in her benefit.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't happen.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It's very strange.
It is really strange.
So the inconsistency with that, of like, what is that? You know, does she do stuff? Can she? Why is she so easy to capture? You know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
If she has these like crazy superpowers, there's also a lot of inconsistencies with like his fighting ability, where like he can take on like 10 people with hatchets sometimes, and then sometimes like just a guy is hard to fight.
What the? Here's the thing, and we'll probably talk a little bit about this when we get to reading the Simons, but fucking, you have the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Fucking use it.
Well, that's the other problem too. Is this show suffers a lot from the same problem that the first Thor movie suffered from, and I think that's the worst one of the original lineup.
Right.
Other than I think Iron Man 2 came out before the Avengers. But of the original, of the origin stories, Thor is the worst one by far. And I think a big problem with that is that we are introduced to a character who's sort of all-powerful, and then immediately his powers get taken away for the rest of the movie.
Right.
Danny Rand doesn't have the Iron Fist for most of this. Like, when he's drugged up, they're like, show me the Iron Fist. And he's like, I can't, I'm drugged up.
Right.
And then this happens again later. This is another thing that happens in the last like 3 episodes. He basically can't use it. He when it is something that would save him, he can't use it.
It's conveniently out of his grasp.
But when it's something that the writers can't write around, he all of a sudden can.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate and strange. I don't. It's so weird. And I did want to talk a little bit about the martial arts in general in this show, because it is just what Daredevil does.
Well, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the martial arts in the show, in combination with the lack of use of Iron Fist. This is a show titled Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And there is max, with the exception of one episode that I've watched so far, max 1 fight an episode.
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
And he uses the Iron Fist in maybe 2 of those fights.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah. He only really uses, like, the most use of the Iron Fist that I've seen is the one when he uses it the first time in, I think, the elevator, and when he uses it to open the truck doors to get the doctor
and there's 2 more.
To get the scientists out.
There's 2 more times,
but
maybe 3.
But you're right. Like, he only uses it very, like, just in times when there's no other way he could get out of this.
Well, and also, I'm spoiler alert, but he never hits a person with it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like with episode 6 is where the tournament was, right? And I like going into to that tournament, I was like, finally, here we go,
Yeah, me
baby.
too.
It's finally gonna pick up.
But it was just kind of boring.
Well, that's the thing, because he's fighting the two guys and he's getting his ass kicked. I'm like, why don't you just Iron Fist him?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get, which sounds way
does.
dirtier than I meant it
But
to.
also, like, knock
But,
him
like,
out of the circle.
Yeah. Take one flick with the Iron Fist,
Yeah.
and it knocks him out of the circle.
Even without
And
the Iron
thing.
Fist, he should be one of the best martial artists. I mean, we see him in the comics take on like 40 or 50 people is when that starts to become difficult.
Listen, I get it. You know, you need to build a conflict, and so he can't just walk into every fight and in 5 seconds kick someone's ass.
But
I totally get that.
But we have to establish how good he is. That's the thing, is that like we really need a fight scene where he's fighting like 50 people and he just nails them to the wall.
Right.
So that when we get that one mini boss,
right.
maybe someone who's been
It
trained
makes that
in
mini
Kun
boss.
Lun.
It makes us instantly recognize that mini boss as a formidable foe.
Right.
Yeah, but there's like one fight per episode.
Yeah.
There is
they're always exactly the same as the one before.
I'm gonna use this. I used this term last week. I'm gonna say it this week, and I mean it all seriously. We are fistless in this.
Iron Fistless.
We are iron fistless in this entire series. By the way, Tony Perry, that's for you. Iron fistless in this whole thing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. And I think that's where I started to form this whole, like, you could do it in this cool 80s style. Because the 80s would have, like, if you think back of those cool action 80s films, like Commando or something like that, or Predator. I just named two of Schwarzenegger's movie, but Rambo,
Total Recall,
any of that stuff.
Die
Hard,
Last Action Hero.
Running Man
is another good one. True Lies.
Yeah, pretty much. Just David. Yeah, great. But
Terminator.
Anything like that, like that has a
Kindergarten Cop.
Really, what I'm saying is, if Iron Fist was more like Kindergarten Cop, beautiful.
No, Colleen, it's not a tumor.
Jesus. But that's what I mean. Is like it had these like big action pieces that it was centered around, and like you'd have these great action pieces, and then the plot would jettison forward. I'm like, do that. That's what I'm saying. Is do that. I'm not saying make it campy or over the top in that sort of way, but the 80s did action like nobody else could.
Sure.
And it did over the top action, and that's what Iron Fist is. It's a white guy who comes from a mystical city that only appears every 10 years, and he has a superpower where he can punch through anything because he put his hands in a dragon's heart, and then he fights a bunch of ninjas, and he's a CEO? That's just nuts.
Yeah.
So go over the top with it. Have him fighting every fucking 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
well, certainly, yeah, you should. Well, and there's something to be said too that like he uses very little kung fu for someone who studied kung fu for 10 to 15 years.
Right.
Mostly what he uses is like MMA with an emphasis on jiu-jitsu, which is what Daredevil does. Like, it's just the thing that
and that's what I'm saying.
It's the thing that is the best at attacking people.
It feels like a Daredevil photocopy.
It would be much more interesting. Actually, I had an interesting idea, which was every episode should have a new mini-boss who uses a different style.
That's great.
And we should see how his kung fu has to be used to adapt to that different style. Because we had probably the best fight. Have you seen The Drunken Boxer yet?
No, I haven't.
All right, let this be your motivator to at least get through that. It might be your next episode.
I'm motivated enough because as much as we're knocking this and as bad as it is, a bad Marvel Netflix series is better than a good portion of what you could watch on television.
Maybe it's hard for me to say. I don't think I would ever recommend this for anyone to watch.
I think for me the problem is its pacing. It's very slow. Like it takes 3 episodes to get through what really should be 1 episode, and I'm 8 episodes in, and I feel like we're just getting into the middle of it, and we're almost to the other end.
But this so Drunken Boxing is a martial arts made famous by Jackie Chan. In
right.
The movie
No, I mean I know what Drunken Boxing.
Right. No, I mean I know you do. There are microphones here. There are people presumably listening to this who might not know that.
Is that what these are?
Yes.
Holy shit!
I know.
Have we been doing this whole time?
I mean, not the whole time.
Where am I?
We went to school for a little while.
Who are you?
I'm you. I'm the Iron Fist. which is why you're falling asleep.
Yeah, that's
so.
pretty much it.
Legend of Drunken Master was this movie that Jackie Chan made, and people were mesmerized by this fighting style that he had sort of made famous.
Right.
And there's a character in the show who is a drunk who's just blocking Danny's path.
Right.
And Danny comes over and he's like, I need you to move. And he's like, no. And he's like, look, I'll pay you, whatever. Because he thinks he's just like a homeless dude.
Right.
And he's like, I'm the lead guardian
right.
of Madame Gao.
Oh, okay.
And Danny's like, what? And he sort of like stumbles to his feet. And they have a fight where Danny Rand uses his shitty ass 1% kung fu, 99% jujitsu
right.
against this dude using legitimate drunken boxing.
Right.
And it's the most interesting fight in the entire show.
Yeah.
And if you had a person using kung fu when they fought him, or a person kung fu versus kung fu would be a good like opening one. If someone did karate, if someone did jujitsu, there's a great Brazilian martial art named capoeira that's really interesting. Taekwondo, it would be really cool.
What's the other one? Shit. Is it Iranian? It's
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga, thank you.
Yeah, would be really interesting to watch. But instead we just get a bunch of people who do sort of the same thing. And
you know what? It's a even more than an 80s movie, it's an 80s video game.
Yeah.
It's a video game.
Yeah.
Like that you could do that.
It's a button mashing video game.
It is a button mashing video game. Like you have to go up against this mini boss. Once you beat that, a clue is unlocked.
Yeah.
And that's where you go back to the Rand Corporation part of the thing, and you find out a little more, and you dig around, and it's a mystery.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I have to go over here, and you find that like that would have been better. But instead they're trying to make this some sort of weird conspiracy, like some sort of weird corporate espionage type thing, and I'm like, it
doesn't really work with this story.
I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
The other thing is this, and this has nothing to do with. Some people were like, it doesn't work because Donald Trump is in the White House, and so we're sick of seeing big businessmen or big corporate and dealing with that stuff. And it's not that. That's not the thing. The thing is this. Again, along the lines of each Marvel property kind of having its own stamp. And we've talked about this. That all of the Marvel shows, they do a good job of establishing something. Like Daredevil, it's not great about Hell's Kitchen, but he's fighting for Hell's Kitchen. That's what he's fighting for. Jessica Jones, she's not fighting for a neighborhood, but she's fighting for redemption. You know, Luke Cage is fighting for Harlem.
Yeah,
he's fighting for his neighborhood. Danny Rand, when you compare like fighting for Harlem and for the sake of innocent people and their neighborhood.
Well, we also just addressed we don't even know why he's in Manhattan.
Right,
Danny Rand. He's not even here for a reason.
But when you're fighting for like the sake of a neighborhood that innocent people live in, and then you're fighting for a corporation of which you really see like the board.
Well, it's interesting too because he's not.
I don't care that much.
He's not fighting for the corporation.
Right. He's just fighting for.
He's just fighting.
Yeah, he's just fighting for himself.
Yeah. He as far as I can tell, he has no motivation.
Right. And I'm not really, and that's what I mean. I don't really care about that fight.
So I also want to talk about some sort of. There's a big problem with this show that involves a very blanket. It's all Asian sort of vibe.
Sure.
So, for example, when we first meet Colleen, Danny speaks to her in, I believe, Mandarin Chinese.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, I haven't, spoken that language since I was very young, whatever.
She kind of is a little more pissed off about it than you make it sound. She's like, I haven't spoken Mandarin since I was like 3.
But then we later find out that she teaches karate, which is a Japanese martial art, and also kendo, again, a Japanese martial art in Chinatown, which is kind of strange, but not out of the realm of possibility.
Sure.
It's totally something that could happen.
Sure.
She talks about later, I don't think you've gotten to this part yet, but she talks about her Japanese grandfather, and there's a lot of stuff that's, it feels like someone was just like, well, that's Asian, right? That'll be fine. There's also Danny Rand quotes a Buddhist quote at one point.
Yeah.
And it's a Zen Buddhist quote, which is a Japanese Buddhism.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was in China. So he probably wouldn't have referenced that. It's like sort of a totally different thing. It'd sort of be like a Jewish person referencing the New Testament.
Right.
You could, But, you know.
I know what you're saying.
Also, if he were like super Orthodox Jewish, super Orthodox Buddhist.
I'll tell you what, if he was super Orthodox
that would
Jewish,
be more interesting.
that would be way more interesting.
But if he was really as heavily Buddhist as he seems to imply, he also wouldn't have gotten meat. Like, there's a part where he orders food for everyone and he has chicken.
Oh, yeah.
And that's,
I know what you're talking about.
They're fairly strictly vegetarian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, like, if he's so strictly Buddhist, he spouted up so many Buddhist sayings and Buddhist ideas that it was like, why do you fight so much? Like,
yeah, well, and why does he have such anger problems?
Yeah, he has a lot of like, as little fighting as there is, like, he spouts off so much Buddhist idealism that I'm like, you'd be a pacifist if you knew if you were this into it. Like,
well, and that's another problem that keeps coming up, and it's that he doesn't have a problem with fighting, but he has a problem with killing, which shouldn't really be the case, because in reality, he should have a problem with fighting and not have a problem with killing, because his entire existence is about fighting and destroying the hand.
Well, it's about destroying the hand.
So he should be fine killing the hand.
Yeah.
But, like, for, like, just a street brawl, or if someone's trying to kill him, he shouldn't want to get into that fight.
To compare it again to Daredevil, like, Daredevil not wanting to kill someone makes sense
because of his Catholic guilt.
Well, he's fighting for justice.
Well,
and justice does not necessarily involve death.
But there is, I mean, from episode to episode, there's a ton of stuff where he's like, is it what are we talking about? Like, how bad is it really to kill somebody like a pastor, a priest?
But he's fighting for an ideal that does not need to involve death. Danny Rand is fighting, he says it several times, I am the Iron Fist.
It's his entire purpose.
My entire purpose is to destroy the hand. I don't know how you think you're going to destroy the hand by not killing a few of them.
Yeah.
If not, all of them.
Have you been introduced to his friend from Kunlun yet?
No, I have not.
Well, I mean, do you care about spoilers at this point?
I mean, don't spoil anything very specific, but I don't really, not too much. No, I don't think, because I also don't.
This isn't a huge spoiler.
Well, the other thing is, I don't see any twists in this.
No, there aren't.
I mean, that's another thing we can talk about too. Is that Luke Cage had that great twist around like episode 8.
Yep.
And this has nothing.
Yeah, I mean, well, they try. Have you met Bakudo yet?
He just walked in the door.
All right, so keep watching.
Yeah.
But Davos, I think is his name, who is in the comic that you gave me as well.
Okay.
He's a friend of... He's actually been referenced in the show a few times. You've heard his name.
Yeah.
So he's a friend of Danny Rand's from Kunlun. Kunlun has eventually sends him to go looking for Danny. I don't know why it took him 5 years, but here he is. And
because he grew up in Kunlun, and so he doesn't know how to drive a car.
So... he finds him, and he's super pissed off at Danny the whole time because he is in the comics, because Danny Rand is the Iron Fist.
Right.
Davos, that's his name.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think
I
it
just
is.
guessed.
Devo wanted to be the Iron Fist, and he tried, and he fought the dragon, and he lost. And then Danny fought him the next time and won.
Okay.
So in the comics, it makes sense, because Danny always wanted to be the Iron Fist. But in this show, he actually says to Davos, I didn't want to do it. The dragon chose me, is something he says. So, which, sure, I mean, you can make that choice, but then Davos can't be mad at him.
Yeah, it's true. You gotta be like, Davos, get over it.
Yeah, I didn't want this. And he says that a lot. He's like, I didn't choose this. I don't want to fight the hand. I just want to be a regular guy,
Yeah, but at the same
time... But that's a weak choice to make.
It's a weak choice because you left Kunlun. So if your whole purpose is to protect Kunlun,
right,
and you left Kunlun, you've already abandoned your purpose. Right. And everyone around you is going, just go off and be a normal guy, and that's all you want to do. Then why aren't you?
Why are you still chasing the hand?
What's stopping you?
Yeah. Why are you still trying to kill the hand?
Matter?
Yeah. I mean, if you left Kunlun because you didn't want to fight the hand, why are you fighting the hand?
Why are you fighting? Exactly. Yeah.
I also want to
talk... And also, anyone who tried to come and bring you back to Kunlun, you're still the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
You're gonna be the Iron Fist sipping an umbrella drink in the Bahamas as much as you are guarding the gates of Kunlun. You can punch anyone out and be like, "No, I'm not leaving."
I mean,
I got my Jimmy Buffett album going. I got my sandals on.
Yeah, you can't do that if you got your performance issues that he has throughout the entire show. So here, I also want to talk about the casting controversy.
Like I can't get the Iron Fist because I've had too many margaritas.
Double fisting. So anyway,
Anyway,
I also want to talk a little bit about the casting controversy.
sure.
So the casting controversy is that many people wanted an Asian Danny Rand.
Yeah.
Now, of course, in the original comics, Danny Rand is white.
Yes.
The show did a fairly good job of casting Asian American actors in roles, or at least people of color in various roles.
Sure.
The defense was that Finn Jones is the actor for this role. That's why we can't, because he's the guy for it. He's perfect. You'll see when the show comes out. How do we feel about that?
Now I feel like, boy, Asian actors, you really dodged a bullet there, didn't you?
Well, maybe. I mean, that might have made it a little better if the acting was, not shitty.
Listen, you and I mean, I forget how much of this we've talked about on mic and how much we've talked off mic. This is kind of a weird one for me. Whenever people... Listen, I'm always for casting more diversity. When it comes to something like this, we talked a little bit about this with Doctor Strange. Yeah. And my feeling on it is this. It would be great to cast an Asian actor. That being said, I think you don't get as much traction moving the bar forward by casting Asians in kind of a race appropriate role. Now, Danny Rand is a little bit of a different story because in the comics he is white. So I think you get a little bit out of that, and you'd have to adjust. I mean, you wouldn't even have to really adjust.
Well, here's the thing is that he's only American until he's 10. And then if you want him to come back and have all this Eastern spirituality,
right,
it makes a little more sense to have someone who understands that a little better on a cultural level.
Yes, and I totally accept that as well. For instance, like they casted, I don't know what this character's name is, but when he's going through the tournament and it's like the monk guy that he... That's an Asian American, I shouldn't say an Asian because I don't know who the actor is.
At least Asian.
It's an Asian, it's an Asian actor.
Yeah.
Playing a part that
and Colleen Wing is Jessica Henwick, I think is her name.
Which I don't know if she's actually Japanese, but
she's Asian.
She is Asian.
With a name like Henwick.
I know. Yeah.
She's good though. She's
really good, and I like her a lot in this show.
Yeah.
That part is fine because theoretically you could cast anyone in that role.
Yeah.
It'd be really insulting to cast a white person in that role teaching, martial arts in Chinatown too.
Sure.
Blah, blah, blah.
Well, there's also a part too where Danny Rand teaches that class.
Right.
And it's pretty insulting.
To me it wasn't so much insulting as it was I was just like, shut up.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Shut up.
Go away.
Again, it was another one of those parts where I was like, you look crazy.
I want to read you a statement that Roy Thomas, the co-creator of the Iron Fist, said in response to some of these not allegations necessarily, I guess, but these negative opinions.
Okay.
He said, yeah, someone made me vaguely aware of that. I try not to think about it too much. I have so little patience for some of the feelings that some people have. I mean, I understand where it's coming from. Cultural appropriation, my God, it's just an adventure story. Don't these people have something better to do than to worry about the fact that Iron Fist isn't Oriental or whatever word? Ooh. I know Oriental isn't the right word now either.
I mean, he started off strong, and then he just swan dived right in. I was with him. I was like, he's got a good point.
And I also want to mention, so it's unfortunate that you haven't seen this fight scene yet. You should definitely check out I think it's probably the next episode, but the guy who plays the drunken boxer,
right?
His name's Louis Tan.
Mm-hmm.
He's only in one episode, as far as I can tell. He was originally up for the role of Iron Fist, and he's an Asian American actor and a very good martial artist.
Okay.
And a great actor.
It would have been much better if he was done. Yeah, listen, I've said this before. I think you're right. The case of Danny Rand, it's a little different. I think that character can be white, obviously, because he was created as a white guy. But you can cast him as pretty much any race, and it doesn't make a difference. Well, so let's do that.
Yeah, exactly. Totally the thing that we should always do is cast any race, regardless
of what. Yeah.
So long as they're the best person to play that character.
That being said, on the flip side, you're not going to cast somebody. You're not going to cast not a black guy as Luke Cage.
Sure, that's.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I was going to say I was going to use a more aggressive example and say you're not going to put Matthew Broderick in 12 Years a Slave.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. But so in the case of Danny Rand, I think it's not that it would have been better to have an Asian actor in it. I think it just would have it would have been fine. And I think they should have been more open to casting anybody.
Yeah.
That being said, like I've said before, for a lot of the other roles, I don't think you move the bar as far as you think you do by casting, an Asian actor as an Asian monk.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Because everyone's gonna go, well, yeah, of course, that's who you cast.
Yeah.
That nobody goes, oh, that's. I never thought of it that way.
Right.
You get more. That's why I said with Doctor Strange, I think you get more traction in a way casting Tilda Swinton in that role because you go, oh, they're not casting they're not casting racially who you think should be in there. It kind of it just cracks the reality of it a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about this. I still
disagree.
I'm
not going to get into it anymore.
Yeah.
But Danny Rand, I think it's just you could cast anybody.
Yeah,
that being said,
because you just got to be from New York.
Right. That being said, I also would say you still probably would have gotten the same show if you casted an Asian
Mostly,
actor.
yeah. I mean, the fight scenes would have been better. Another problem that reportedly happened...
because all Asians can just fight automatically, Andrew?
If it's Lewis... Well, first of all, yes. I mean, at least better than what we got out of... I mean, just statistically, any human being, if any other person played that role, statistically speaking, they'd probably do a better job with the fight scenes than Finn Jones did.
Fair enough.
But
he was in Game of Thrones, damn it.
He sure was. But Louis Tan is like an excellent martial artist, and if we got him... One of the big reports was that supposedly...
Fine, let's just cast Chuck Norris as
again, it would
Danny
be better.
Rand.
But a big problem...
Actually, I fucking love that.
A big problem that people reported was that many of his fight scenes were brought to him 15 minutes before shooting.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah,
whereas Daredevil had like a day.
Yeah, I imagine. I actually don't know.
It's not full, which is not a lot of time.
Yeah, well, and like wire work and stuff,
right.
like they were ready.
Yeah.
I have two more things I want to talk about. One of them is the thing that I assumed would be the main thing we talk about, and it would take up the most time.
All right, let's go.
So the next quick thing I want to say is, do you think adding good actors to this was a mistake? Actors like Rosario Dawson and Jerry Hogarth, I forget her, Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yeah.
And even, those are people who came back, who have been proven successes in other shows. But even like David Wenham, who's, in my opinion, fantastic in this.
David Wenham plays...
Harold Meacham.
Okay. Do I think it was a mistake to put him in?
Does it highlight the poor acting and dialogue? Because they also... I have a theory that Rosario Dawson just writes her own lines.
Yeah, I could totally
Do you feel
see
that in the show?
Yeah. But I feel that, but I will also say this. Rosario Dawson, throughout 3 other series now, her character has gotten a chance to create a voice.
Yeah.
Much almost in the same way that, like, Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. in the first Iron Man, they crafted Tony Stark's voice.
Yeah.
And that voice...
They crafted the MCU voice.
But specifically
the character,
like in the Avengers, in the other movies that he's been in now under other directors, he has to sound like that.
Yeah,
that's how he talks.
Yeah.
Like even in the first Avengers movie, Tony Stark is trying to spout a Joss Whedon-esque dialogue, and you can feel it for a second. It doesn't quite click in.
Yeah.
Because that's not how he really talks.
Right.
It's close to how it is, but it's just a shade off. So Rosario Dawson, it probably sounds like that because her character voice has been very heavily ingrained now.
They don't have to make anything.
They don't have to make anything new for her. That's how she talks, and she probably can come into a show and be like, "No, this is how I'm going to say this line because this is how I'm going to say this line." That being said, did it highlight the bad writing?
Or the bad acting.
Or the bad acting?
Really...
No, because I think they did... No, because... I'm trying to think.
Because every time one of those, especially those two, Carrie-Anne Moss and Rosario Dawson, whenever they're on set...
Yeah.
I feel it. Like, they are well above. They're
Something
more
pops.
Interesting than everyone else in the room.
I think that
they have a commanding presence.
Yeah, but I think they also have something more interesting to do. And Finn Jones...
Claire's character doesn't do much in this.
No, but she has a driving... Again, because she's been in 3 other things, she's kind of like a driving motivation that you carry in with you.
Yeah.
That as soon as you see her on screen...
No, not Carrie-Anne, Rosario Dawson.
You're funny. As soon as you see her on screen, you remember Daredevil season 2 when her friend was killed by the Hand, and she references it. But like you come in with that with her.
Yeah.
And the rest of these characters, you have to pick it up from just the beginning of the show. And the problem with the show is that it doesn't give you much to pick up with these other characters.
Correct. Yeah.
So the
writing is.
Yeah. Carrie Ann Moss can come on, and she's a ball-busting lawyer, which is just, I mean, it's A, easy to write dialogue for that, and B, it's a lot of fun to do as an actor, so you can really make that pop.
Well, and again, she also has had those 3 shows. Well, she was in Jessica Jones. She was in the first one.
But she was also... She was in one of the other ones for a brief
second. Luke Cage.
Yeah.
But not Daredevil.
Not as a... Yeah. But, you know, there's something fun about that dialogue that she can just make pop. She just goes in, does her, like, scene, and then fucks off.
Yeah.
Finn Jones is an okay actor. I think it's one of those things where, like, there's not much he could do to elevate what they gave him to do. I'm not saying he's, like, an Academy Award worthy actor either. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
But he seems kind of dry already. Like, the few bits of humor they give him, it also falls flat.
Yeah, well, there's almost no humor in this.
There's almost none. But there's some where I went, oh, they're clearly trying to attempt it.
Yeah.
And it still falls flat because he's still playing it, like, really straight and really heavy.
Definitely.
And not giving into it.
He also, his American dialect is very strange and feels stunted to me.
Yeah, it feels very robotic. Almost.
Yes, it does. I even maybe 3 episodes in, I was like, "Is this guy English?" And I looked it up, and it was like born in London. Yeah. That's that. Then the last thing I want to talk about, and we can try to blow through this. I have very specific ideas as to how to save this story, how to save how Iron Fist should have been done.
Okay.
And I'd like to hear your ideas after that. So I think Iron Fist should have been, the first 6 episodes should have taken in Kunlun, and it should have been about a guy who's just learning martial arts. The Hand invades, and he is the only one who is close enough to I forget the dragon's name, but whatever the fuck his name is, to run in, face the dragon. He becomes the Iron Fist and can chase out the Hand and saves the day.
Okay.
He has to have the knowledge of Harold Meacham that he has in the comics, right? Like, do you know what I'm referring to?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Harold Meacham, to Danny's knowledge, they crash the plane and he kills Danny's father because he wants to be with Danny's mother. Danny's mother rejects him. They run off, and Danny's mother is eaten by wolves in the middle of the forest, and monks save him.
Yeah.
So he knows that Harold Meacham has killed his parents, and the reason he leaves, like, this is his reason for leaving. So now he's saved.
I want to go kill Harold Meacham.
So now he's saved Kunlun from the Hand. It's been 10 years. I gotta go.
Right.
So he leaves, and the next 6 episodes are the 14 episodes we got. But condensed into 6.
Okay.
I also think a thing that would help is the hip hop is a little too reminiscent of Luke Cage for me. It's a different genre, but it's R&B, which is definitely a root of that.
Right.
I think a way you differentiate him more from the others, 1, is by having him do kung fu instead of Daredevil's martial art. And 2, make him 5 years older than he is, and have that music be 90s grunge.
Ooh, and that's actually interesting.
Right. So he's, listening to Nirvana. He's listening to Pearl Jam. He's listening to Champagne Supernova.
Right.
Have a scene, one of the first fight scenes, where there's 30 dudes in a room getting ready to beat the shit out of him. He pulls his hood up, puts his iPod headphones in, and we see a not silent version of him beating the shit out of everyone, but we just hear Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana or something.
Yeah.
Wow, we don't hear the punches land, we don't hear the feet hit,
right.
We don't hear the sword clash against the ground, but we see all these things happen, and we just see him wreck 30 guys.
Right.
And I think that's your introduction to Danny Rand.
Yeah.
And that's my thought on it.
I was okay with not seeing anything in Kunlun. I like the references to it.
It's weird, though, considering that, like, it's sort of the coolest part of Iron Fist.
The coolest part.
You hear a lot about a dragon, and then you never see it.
Well...
Yeah,
and if here's
another
if you
problem.
Name a dragon in Act 1...
Well, that's what I was just going to say. So here's another problem that I have.
Better breathe fire in Act 2.
Here's another problem I have, and I wanted to bring this up to you. That exact same thing, that Chekhov rule. We see David Wenham, Harold Meacham...
Right.
Physically training as a boxer.
Right.
Almost every episode.
Right.
he never fights.
Yeah, he never fights.
Which is sort of a spoiler, but like...
Yeah.
What is that about?
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, he's so insistent about being physically fit. And I get why, because he died and then he was brought back, so let's keep it blah, blah, blah.
But again, the gun in the first act.
Yeah,
like...
but he never does anything with it.
Right.
Yeah, he never fights. I agree with you there. I was okay with it not showing Kunlun. I like the references too, and you don't quite know.
Sure.
That being said, the references were too like heavy-handed because he's an idiot and doesn't understand. He sounds crazy.
Because that's the thing, is that we might as well have seen it because he talks about it so much.
Layer those in a little differently. But I was okay with it, like kind of like touches on it.
So how do you think it should have gone? Do you think they should have just had a more in-depth storyline in this long 13 episodes?
I agree with you that come out and he's like, no, Harold Meacham killed my parents.
Sure.
I'm going to rip his heart out with my iron fist. And then I'm going to
punch his heart out.
And then I'm going to leave. And then I don't really care after that.
Yeah.
That being said, or even if you want to do I didn't know Harold Meacham did it.
Right.
And he befriends Harold Meacham, and then because the whole thing, like he befriended Harold Meacham, and I'm like, well, Harold Meacham's gonna stab him in the back. That's how that's gonna go. That's gonna be great. And then he doesn't.
Right.
I'm like, well, that was also anticlimactic. That just fell by the wayside. So I think what you do is just have to, instead of Danny Rand being a traitor to Kunlun and leaving Kunlun, because he doesn't want to be the Iron Fist, have him say the Iron Fist has traditionally protected Kunlun from the Hand.
Right.
I'm the first Iron Fist to go, you know what? I'm taking the fight to them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm coming out of Kunlun. I'm not waiting for them to come to me. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, that's
I'm going to come out. I'm going to find the Hand. I'm going to destroy them. And then we can follow the storyline kind of the same way it goes in the series. He befriends Harold Meacham. He doesn't know Harold Meacham stabbed him, killed his family and everything. And he's like, Harold also hates the Hand. He can help me get to it. And then there's a turnaround.
Right.
And that's how you get into that. But yeah, I think that's a little bit better. And I love the idea of, like we said, like kind of mini bosses. He and Harold investigate. I'm putting air quotes for people who can't see, which is everyone. Investigate the Hand. They discover little bit by little bit. Some of it might be real. Some of it might be like you could have it where Harold is like, there's this bit of information that we just found out about the Hand. You have to go here, and that's a mini boss. And it turns out he's making Iron Fist fight for the Hand instead of against the Hand.
Great idea.
You know what I mean? This mini boss is actually the Hatchet Men guys, and he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
And he just kicks the shit out of the Hatchet Men, and now the Hand is more powerful. And then and when Iron Fist finds that out, then there's that great turnaround.
Yeah.
That increases the fighting.
Yes.
It has more of a driving motivation.
There's more at stake.
There's more at stake. And again, I don't care about the integrity of the Rand Corporation.
Right.
That doesn't make any. I'm not married to that.
I mean, that can be like a subplot. Like if
that can be something where it's part of it.
Because we have Harold Meacham, we have to know what he's doing. So have him talk. I mean,
I like the idea. The Hand is the same way Hydra was in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly.
I like the idea of Hand is in Rand, and he discovers that, and he's like, oh my, that sounded dirty. He's like, oh my god, the Hand is infested in my entire business. Yeah. And it's driving my father's good name down. And I'm totally fine with that because then you have a classic kung fu movie trope or staple, which definitely is bringing honor back to your family's house.
So that was the main thing I wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
There are 3 twists coming up that we haven't talked about. I want to hear your opinion in the next episode.
Sure.
So maybe we'll have 10 or 15 minutes where we talk about that.
Yeah. I don't think it's hopeless. Also, just go lighter.
I think it's hopeless.
I think it's hopeless for a second season because I think you have a chance to cleanse the palate with the Defenders.
They just finished wrapping. They finished wrapping the day that it opened, that Iron Fist came out.
But I'm saying,
so they don't know. When they were filming it, they didn't know that they had made mistakes.
Yeah, but I think that now adding 3 other characters into into those elements, you have a chance to do something different with
It's also, I think it's the director who directed the second season of Daredevil, so that'll be good.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I have high hopes for the Defenders. I think it will be good. And with that, you have a chance to, for the second season, kind of start over again.
Another thing that I wanted to say that would have really helped out, fix the problems with the show, have at least Luke Cage in it. It's Power Man and Iron Fist. Like,
good appearance. Anything.
And there's a great moment where, I won't say who, but there's someone gets kidnapped.
Right.
And they're locked up.
Right.
And it's actually a really great scene, and it gives this person a really great opportunity to show what they can do, and they break free, and it's fantastic. But it would be great if a wall just blew up,
right,
and in walked Luke Cage to save the day.
Right.
And they're like, how did you know? And he's like, I got a friend who's a PI, don't worry about it.
Right.
And like, saves the day, and Iron Fist is like, I am forever indebted to you.
Yeah.
You know? And then we've got Power Man and Iron Fist,
right,
just like that.
Yeah.
So there's that. Let's talk for like 30 seconds about the comic you had me read.
Yeah, so...
I don't even remember the name of it.
It is the Immortal Iron Fist.
I made the mistake of reading that and then watching the show, so a lot of it is mixed up for me.
Well, no, that's fine. I actually was hoping you would read that first and then watch the show.
Maybe that's why I'm so cynical about the show.
Sure.
Because it's pretty damn good.
It's really good, and it draws on a lot of things that I think if they'd run more directly from it, they hint at it a little bit.
Actually, more than you know.
Yeah.
There are a couple pieces later. I'm pretty sure, and I won't ruin how, but I'm pretty sure you get a like tiny shot of Orson Randall.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what the Immortal Iron Fist is about.
Well, the Immortal Iron Fist, it starts with two separate storylines going at the same time. And one is about this dude who was the Iron Fist, and still sort of is, but it shows sort of his coming into fruition as the Iron Fist, and how he met a young boy who worked in a bar, and a bunch of other crazy stuff. At the same time, we're learning about Danny Rand and who he is, and how he works with Rand Industries and stuff like that. And eventually the two meet, and this is Danny's introduction to the idea that there is more than one Iron Fist.
That there's always been an Iron Fist.
Yes.
He is one in the long line of
centuries,
succession.
Yeah, generations and generations of Iron Fists. And also, someone's friend. Is it Danny's or Orson's friend? Davos.
I don't remember.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. Somebody from Kunlun is very angry that they were not the Iron Fist. And they are on their way to destroy the other Iron Fists using the power of the Crane Mother.
Yes.
And it's fantastic.
It is. It's really good.
Gun Fu is used. You really get a glimpse into... I mean, it's Matt Fraction, so this shouldn't surprise me. They really should have had Matt Fraction as a consultant on this.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have hated it because he would have just been working 24 hours a day. But
right.
You get a sense of the irony that lives within Danny Rand. That he's kind of a funny person. I don't mean necessarily that he is ironic, but he has a firm grasp on irony when he speaks.
Yeah.
So he'll say things that are not sarcastic, they're just ironic. And they're funny little quips that he says. And I can't think of anything specifically, but it's the same sort of stuff.
I kind of know what you're saying.
It's the same sort of stuff we got a lot of. We got a lot more of it in My Life as a Weapon, Hawkeye.
Okay.
Where he just is like... this guy down on his luck. There's even a part where Danny is falling from very high up, and it's very reminiscent of the opening to My Life as a Weapon.
Oh yeah.
Where he's sort of thinking, how did I get to this point?
Yeah, you know?
yeah. Like things like that are so interesting. Like that sort of thing by ironic. Like, this man's a superhero. This man is the Immortal Iron Fist. He is unstoppable. And he's just like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah, you know? So he's like, sometimes I'm just in over my fucking head. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's always like a moment he doesn't realize it until he's really just in the middle of like 20 Hydra agents on top of him.
Well, there's a great moment,
Danny, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly. There's a great moment when an elevator opens and he thinks he's safe. He's entering his office. And he's sorely mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I really do like it. I like it. I mean, it plays... I love the idea of that he is not the only Iron Fist, and they really kind of show that, and they don't just show it, but they help build the mythos and kind of what the Iron Fist can do.
Yeah.
Like when he's talking about he's talking to Orson and he's like, I can't believe you use guns. And the guy says, like, you can transfer your energy into the bullets.
Into anything.
You can do that. The one lady used to do it with her arrows. Like, it's totally fine. And it's also one of those things where you could see Danny Rand was clearly living by a certain code because he thought he's supposed to.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, no, you just shoot him. What's the matter?
Yeah, well, as long as you get the job done.
As long as you get the job done, that's your job.
That's the honor.
That's the Iron Fist. That's what I'm supposed to do. I don't have to punch everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I love... I think when we were talking about the show, that's the type of humor that I was looking for. Is like, it doesn't have to be big or anything. It just has to be like, you know, he is kind of absent-minded in that sort of way because he was out of the world for a while and then came back. So there is that formative year gap where he doesn't quite sync up.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I mean about irony. That like, he's this guy who is the best.
Yeah.
But he's kind of an idiot.
Yeah, he is the best, but it is so... Him being physically the best is so second nature that he doesn't always realize what he's doing. Like, he can be in the middle of the fight and winning, but he's not. But meanwhile, his mind isn't here because he's so good. He doesn't have to think. And then when his mind drifts into some other thought, and when he snaps back, he realizes, oh my god, wait, maybe I'm losing? I can't tell anymore.
Well, the only humor we got in the show that actually landed is when he's talking about things as though he really knows what he's talking about, and Claire will say something like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that sort of humor is very prevalent in this comic.
I really like, and it continues on. I haven't read any of the other volumes,
I'll have to give
but
it a
there's
check.
like 7 other volumes.
I'll definitely read it until Matt Fraction isn't on it anymore.
I think I'm trying to think. I think it goes up to volume 7 for that storyline.
All right.
And then I think it goes on with a different writer for a little bit after that, and then I think it's done. But good, yeah.
You can tell really as well that the artist is the same as My Life as a Weapon.
Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say is that I like, but if you notice, they switch artists when they're doing the flashbacks.
Oh, I did notice
they
that.
Do this. They do the great flashback art in kind of like almost a Silver Age style.
Yeah, it's good.
Very simplistic. And then when they flash back to the modern day, they have the more modern style. Yeah, which is great.
All right, so it's my turn to give you a thing.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to give you The Vision, a wonderful story. It's a wonderful story that I think is quite apropos for our time about being very different in your local community and feeling out of place.
Excellent. I love it. I'm really looking forward to this. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it, so I'm really excited to read it.
We'll talk about it. It's not bad. Okay. But it's
great. Way to set up my expectations for it.
It's horrendous. That's what I mean.
Excellent.
There's good and bad, and it's, if nothing else, it is ballsy. It's good in that it's bold, it's ambitious, it makes very clear decisions. And I've only read the first volume. I'm going to give you the first volume. Okay. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Great.
After that.
Awesome. That's it. Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Where can they find us?
Well, you can find us on our website at www. Oh, I thought we were doing
No,
the thing.
I'm not helping you.
Okay, fine. You can find us on our website at www.themedialunchbreak.com. You can find us on our Twitter at Media Lunch Break. You can find us on Facebook. Search for us there. You can find us on YouTube. Subscribe to us there. Once again, we are trying. If you can get us up to 100 subscribers, we're gonna start.
You specifically.
You
one
specifically.
person.
You one
can
person.
Get us up
you
to
person
100.
out there. Start going around subscribing on people's phones. Get us up to 100 subscribers. We're gonna start having contests and giving out free stuff. Everybody likes free stuffs. That's what 4. You can find us on Patreon. Is there a specific?
Patreon.com/The
Lunch Break. Chuck in a couple of bucks there. Keep the mics going. Keep the pizza hot, nice and hot. If you go to subscribe to us on iTunes, subscribe to us on Google Play, subscribe to us on SoundCloud. And give me a second. I did the email. I didn't do the email? Oh, then it's the email. You can email us at themedialunchbreak@gmail.com.
Woo!
Yeah.
We did a thing. I'm very impressed with you, by the way.
Why?
Because I rehearse that twice a week. And
really?
don't. Well, I mean, we record twice a week, two
Fair
episodes
enough.
a week, so yeah.
I mean, if I have you saying it to my face enough, I'll get it.
I was gonna say that's what she said, and I realized that wouldn't work.
I'm sure you can make it work.
That's what she said.
Attaboy. Never give up on that. All right, everybody. Until next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week.
I'm thinking about watching Legion. Eric Scotolati recommended it.
Fuck that guy.
All right, so we'll see.
Says.
We'll see if we take it as advice. I think,
oh no, we can still take his advice. I'm just saying.
Just
in general. Just fuck that guy.
What's the cake dealer?
Go fuck
yourself. I think the Fresnerd also recommended it, so we've got two.
Oh, well, then that's fine.
Okay, great. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're
wonderful.
wonderful.
I at least am gonna try to watch it and have some opinions of some kind.
I have seen the first episode. It wasn't enough to make me really want to get into it because it seems very trippy to me.
Yeah.
But I will say the first episode is not what you expect it to be in a lot of great ways.
The internet is freaking out about it right now. I think their last episode of the season is
because I think it's only 8 episodes.
All right.
Yeah, so
all right.
we could, let's try
We'll see. We'll see if we do that. We might not.
Or we might just do another thing,
Boba
and you
Fett.
never know.
Just do Boba Fett.
Yeah,
again.
we could pick up Boba Fett again. We'll see. I remember where we left off, kind of, sort of.
I don't at all. Oh, yeah, tractor beam into Darth Vader.
Yeah, it's kind of the same place we left off the first time, but with more detail. Yeah, okay.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right, jeez. Oh, boy.
Bye.
Yeah, all right, bye. Whatever.
We love you.
Yep. Irish exit!